So today is Wednesday, August 26th. There's no one in the Zoom room. This is a synchronous class, which means at our class time that's on your schedule in my NSCC, you have to be in class, which is now on Zoom. So it's not optional. So you have to log in and you have to be here for instruction because we have a paper due next week. So today is the day we're going to talk about that and help you work through anything that might be troubling you when it comes to our class. Some of you can't access your books, I think. So if you cannot access your book, email me, please, and I will give you the name of the person to contact. They told me to tell students just to contact him directly, and his phone line isn't working very well, so do email. So if you're having trouble, you got to email me. You got to let me know. At the close of this video, I will go ahead and email those of you who have already contacted me. I'll go ahead and send out that information. But today, regardless if anyone's here, we're going to go ahead and have class because the paper's due Friday next week, regardless. So I'm going to do screen share and we're going to take a look at, as soon as I find it, yeah, Chrome and share. And let's get out of Facebook and let's go into our content. Okay, so if you take a look at, it opens on Zoom a lot of times. Today is our class. It opened up at 9:30 a.m. August 26th. It's on there. It's required. I'm not having any trouble. So make sure you are there. These are your school dates. These are your class dates. Unless there's an active holiday that says campus is closed, we'll be in class. So make sure you are here on Monday, okay? Okay, so let's take a look at the calendar. And let's see what's coming up due, okay? So it says that tomorrow is due the Remembering an Event discussion, the first. If you click on that, it tells you read chapter 2. I'm actually going to extend this until the 1st. I meant to change your due date to end on the 1st to give you more time to get used to the course. So I will extend that to end on September the 1st, which is the descriptive writing, okay, to get you used to looking at something and describing what you see and using academic vocabulary. So yeah, that you choose one. It says in the very beginning, choose one. Tell me what you think is going to happen and why. What in the picture makes you think that? Do you think they're going to be best friends, the alien island? Are they going to be best friends and they found a best friend out in the ocean? What makes you think that? Or do you think they're about to become a snack? I don't know. You have to tell me, right? So this one here, maybe the cheetah has a thing for cameras. Maybe he has a thing for tourists. I don't know. You have to tell me, all right? So follow the instructions. You don't have to reply to anyone else, okay? This one will be due the same time. So you need to read chapter 2 in order to complete page 57. You only choose one of those activities and write about it. Just one. It says choose one, whichever one you find most interesting, okay? On the 3rd ends the second discussion. We do a lot at the first 2 weeks of class to go ahead and get us used to using discussion board, to get us used to how everything works inside the system, okay? And after this, we won't do 3 per section, okay? We'll just do 2. But yeah, try to keep it to 5 to 10 sentences. It's just a quick thing. Follow the instructions inside the book, page 25. When we use discussions and it says e-textbook, that is the St. Martin's. That is the St. Martin's guide. That's all we use, okay? And on, sorry, my computer made a noise. Let's turn that off. Okay. So that leads us to remembering an event, okay? I am going to move this to Tuesday. I know our class meets on Mondays and Wednesdays, but I like to have our due dates on our off days so that we can talk about anything that might be troubling you right beforehand. So I'm going to move this to Tuesday the 8th. I cannot push it back any further, but I want to make sure that we've had a chance to talk, you've had a chance to view this video, and that we get things rolling and get things started in such a way that you'll find success in this class, okay? So I am going to move that a bit, but it says that the availability ends, which means it'll be locked out after that date. You're not turning it in late. We're getting it in on time. The personal narrative is due. That's the assignment. And then there's the Dropbox. So it tells you exactly where to turn it in and when to turn it in before midnight. Okay. So we'll talk about that. I'll adjust all the dates and times in here, and you just have to follow the calendar. Okay. So let's take a look at the personal narrative. This is a document that I wrote. It was published earlier this year before it was submitted before COVID hit. So it is not too long, 6 pages, 2 stories that I have told about, one about my father and one about my mother. Well, this second one is the 3 that this is a rough draft, but anyway, it's just a quick little snippet. I think it might even be a rough draft, but it's just something to give you an example of what it looks like. Okay. You may use first person, which is I, me, you, your, us, our, because this is you telling a story. But after this paper, we only use second and third person. Well, third person, pretty much. You're not speaking to someone, you're speaking in general terms. So we don't actually use I, me, you, your, us, our, we, me. We don't use those. Okay. So our personal narrative, it is an event that has changed your life. And as I think I've mentioned before, I've read stories where it was the death of a grandmother that changed their life, or it was basic training, excuse me, that changed their life. It was a divorce or something tragic, a car wreck, something, but it could also be something humorous. And my stories in this link are humorous in that way. If you click on the Word document, that gives you instructions on how to do the assignment. Okay. So if you go in here, it tells you, well, it says 1 to 3 pages. I want it 2 to 3 pages, which is in the link. Okay. Write about a defining experience, an event or choice that shaped who you are. It's a good story, descriptive language, which is why we do the descriptive writing discussion. Personal significance. I need to see how this has impacted you, the author, and how can I relate to it. Okay. If you're talking about basic training, and I have nothing that compares to that, but I have been put in a group situation where our team building has come in super handy, or I've had to trial by fire learn something new. When I first started teaching, I started as an overflow teacher, and I had 2nd and 3rd grade students in the same classroom at the same time, all day long, all year long. I've never taught anything before, and now I have 19 students and 12 subjects between them. Go for it. You talk about something traumatizing, and you realize how good you are when you're able to do it successfully. So yeah, that might be something relatable. But in your story, if you're using something as tragic as a death of a grandparent, and my grandparents are living, or if you're talking about a horrific car wreck that was debilitating, I've never had one like that. Or if you're talking about a divorce, my parents have been married for 42 years. Or if you're talking about basic training, I'm a civilian, no idea. You have to find a way to relate that to your reader. I have to be able to see how I could put myself in this situation, perhaps, or in this scenario, or in this emotion, and come away with something that means something to me. Think about motivational speakers, right? Everybody leaves with, wow, that was really inspiring, even though you may have never been there before. That's what this story is, right? 2 to 3 pages, and I'll show you what that looks like, okay? It says 2 to 3 pages right here. 2 to 3 pages long, meaning the text must fill up completely the minimum required pages and spill onto more. We're not citing any work. So let me show you what that looks like, okay? Into discussions. Let me go to Microsoft Word. I don't know if you can see this actually. Let me stop sharing for just a minute and adjust my screen share. Let's do, this should work. Okay, I hope you can see this. Sometimes Zoom controls are iffy. I'm going to show you how to do this in Microsoft Word. And if you can't see this, because I can't tell if what it's recording at this moment, it should be fine. It should be sharing my screen. But if you can't see this, then follow along the sound of my voice and look for the file in helpful links or MLA edits. I'll have that in your content section of your D2L page. So if you search here, if you look for MLA, sometimes this works, sometimes it does not. Hold on a minute. Let me do it right. Okay. I searched for a file and not a template. I need to look for a template, okay? I want to search for MLA, and it will give me 3 options if it comes up at all. MLA style paper, don't choose that, it's wrong. MLA style research paper also has errors in it. Classic double spaced, that's the one I want to pin and make sure it stays where I can access it, because this is an MLA format, okay? It's double spaced, it's 1-inch margins all around, and it's 12-point Times New Roman font, and we create it, okay? And it's ready to go, okay? Now, this is how your heading looks in MLA. MLA is a gift because it allows you to count your heading as part of your paper text. No other format really does that. Chicago maybe, but APA style requires a cover sheet, running heads, section titles. I mean, it's massive. Chicago style likes footnotes, endnotes, extra facts that go along with your paper. MLA is like a little gift. It's wonderful. Okay, so let's look. You're going to need your first and last name, not in all caps. I'm just using this as a place marker. Okay, your teacher's name, that's me. Your class, English 1010, but I need your course section. So in this section, it's section 2, and then you need the date of when it's due, and then I want the assignment. Right? Is this rough draft paper 1? Is this personal narrative? Tell me what it is, so that if I find it, oh, I turned in the wrong one, Miss Williams, which make sure you pick the right one. I've uploaded 3 files. You're gonna have to label this stuff. I can't be looking through all these things, okay? There's 81 of you. You're gonna have to label your paper, okay? So, as I used to tell my elementary students, if you wanted an A, you should have put a name on it. So now we're gonna center our title, okay? You can do that 2 ways. You can do that through this button here, which is centered, or if you hover over it's Control E, okay? We want to center it and put your title. Now, if I hit enter, it's still centered. I need to go back to the left, or Control L if you're a keyboard person, okay? Now I need to do one more thing. I need to put in a page number. And MLA wants it in the upper right-hand corner with your last name. So I can do one of 2 things. I can double click in the header, choose page number, top of the page, 3rd option, 1, 2, 3, or I can do this. I can insert a page number, top of the page, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now because I set this up as a classic template, it's already in Times New Roman size 12 font. I type in my last name, oops, and then, oh, for the love of cheese, okay. And then I just can close the header up here in the options, or just double click in my paper, and it's ready to go. Now, typically, you need a works cited page. This is where you are citing the works that you've used in your paper. We don't expect you to have all original ideas in your paper. We expect you to borrow from the experts to back up your play, right? Why should I listen to you? You're a freshman in college. Well, I found this expert that says this, that, and the other. Oh, wow, that's okay. I will listen to you. You found some good data, right? So, but in this paper, we will not have a works cited page. So let me show you how to set one up if you're ready, okay, to use one. So insert, pages, page break, or Control Enter, okay? And it sets up your page. This page will now forever be on its own, okay? Now I'm going to go back to my little home up here, and I'm going to center my title, and it will always be called Works Cited. Enter, and then go back to the left. Boom, done. Now, no matter what I type up here, and I could go 15 pages down, this Works Cited will always ever be on its own page, as it should be, okay? Now it's worry-free, it's done, all right? So that's how that works. And it's pretty handy. Now let me zoom out a little bit. Let me show you something on this word. This is why you have to fill up your pages and then spill onto the next in order to be counted as full. Can you see how long this is? This is double spaced, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double spaced is 12 lines. You won't start typing your paper until here. That is a fourth or a fifth of the page already taken, okay? So to make this a 2-page paper, you're gonna have to fill this up, and then spill onto the third. That way it's completely filled 2 pages. Does that make sense? So a 2 to 3 page paper is actually 3 to 4 pages when it comes to page count, okay? That's why. Now, if you're like me and you don't like redoing things for no reason, I like to save this. I like to file, save as, this PC, I put it on my desktop, right? I like to call it MLA blank. So now I have a blank version of MLA paper. So the next time I go to write a paper, I open it up and I'm ready to go, okay? It's easy to do. Let's see. Yes. Now let's take a look in our content section here. We're going to look at the table of contents on this side. E-textbook, we'll look at that in a minute. I'm going to click on MLA and editing help. This is a link for help with 8th edition. We'll look at that in a minute. Rate My Paper actually is an editing tool. You can copy and paste your paper into this website and they will check it for errors. Grammarcheck.net will actually do the same thing. It'll check you for grammatical errors and spelling errors and things of that nature. Valencia is how we'll be using this later on to help us with works cited entries, library guides, Ask MLA, lots of information. Now here is a MLA template. I'm going to open it in a new tab and see what we got. I can't remember what I've got in here. I think. Oh yeah, okay. This is how to do a works cited page, but it is a template you can play around with, as is this one. It's not the blank Word document that I just created, okay? But I can add it here. New, create a file. We'll call it MLA blank, and I will upload this for you, okay? And attach. Oh, it's going to give me a minute. I'll have to do it in a second. It's not wanting to work right now. Let me show you something else as well. If you are like me, and sometimes Microsoft Word hates you, there is a way to set it up from the beginning. Sometimes these classic templates do not show. And in this case, you have to start from scratch. So let me show you how to do that. So initially, right, this was already in Times New Roman font. Well, it's not now. It's in Calibri size 11. So we need to change this to 12. Change this to Times New Roman, okay? Now notice these up and down arrows here in paragraph. You're gonna want it to go double spaced and remove space after paragraph. Guys, we don't need to have an extra space every time we hit the enter key. It's gonna really mess with the flow of your paper and it throws the reader off. Trust me on this one, okay? Then you're gonna have your first and last name. You're gonna have my name. You're going to have the class, you're going to have the date, you're going to have the assignment, you're going to have the title. We're excited. All right, now we need the page number, right? Let me show you something unfair. If I go top of the page, 1, 2, 3, and I start typing my last name, aren't these different fonts? You see this last? And see this last? They're different fonts. I changed it to be Times New Roman, but it didn't take in the header and the footer. So I have to go back to the home key and see, oh, look, it put it back. So now you have to select it all, change it again. And now it's ready, okay? So yeah, if you have to do this, if it doesn't have the automatic version in there, you're gonna have to edit it yourself, and that can be tricky, okay? Let's take a look at our textbook and talk a little bit about the reading. For me, it should look like this. It should be fixed. I know some of you are having trouble. I don't know why. It's ready to go. Red shelf course materials. You click on it, and then we're in the lime green book for St. Martin's Guide. You start reading. We're in chapter 2. There are 2 particular stories in this chapter that I find very entertaining. One is the American Childhood, and American Childhood, where they're throwing snowballs at cars, and one of them, the guy gets out and runs them down, chases them down. And it was about throwing yourself into the thrill of the chase. I've never thrown snowballs at cars. I know better. But having chased, you thought you were going to die, and you had to run full and free, and there's no feeling like it. I can relate to that, right? Another one of the stories is Tupac and My Non-Thug Childhood. And it's when a mixed woman is growing up in a very affluent white neighborhood in California, I think Beverly Hills, I can't remember. And when Tupac is murdered, she felt like she lost her Black voice because no one around her spoke like that. No one around her understood some of the things she was going through. And so she felt like she lost her voice. And I'm not a person of color. I'm not mixed at all. And my dad did his DNA test, and it came back 99.999% European, like Norwegian white. So we're super white, okay? I cannot relate to some of the things she has faced in her life, but I can relate to losing your voice and no one listening to you and no one understanding you and no one caring because it doesn't affect them. I can relate to that. Okay, so she wrote it in such a way that even I, in my super white skin, can understand the loss of her Black voice, the loss of this artist, okay? So this chapter is really important. It covers a lot of topics, okay? And so there are 4 different readings in it. Read them all. See what makes each one tick. See which one you're like, man, that was just so good. Write yours that way, okay? It could be about, I never trust again because my bike was stolen when I was 8. Fine, that's great, but make it relatable because my bike's never been stolen, right? So make it relatable. Make me understand where you're coming from. So that's what this chapter is all about, okay? This is one of our discussions. Write a blog post, a letter, or an email to a student who will take this next course, okay? Use the writing prompt that seems most productive for you. So you pick one of these, okay? Explain how what you wanted your readers to learn about you from reading your story influenced one of your decisions as a writer. Discuss what you learned about yourself as a writer and the process of writing this paper. If you were to give advice to a fellow student who was about to write a remembered event essay, what would you say? What would you tell the next class coming up behind you? Which of the readings in this chapter influenced your choice of an event to write about or how you told your story? You know, I love the word choices in American Childhood, how she flings herself. I used to play tackle football with my cousins until I turned 13, and it just hurt too bad because they were all bigger than me. I was the only granddaughter for 17 years. So yeah, I grew up rough, right? I understand fully about football. You fling yourself at someone and catch a cleat to the chin or something, right? I get throwing yourself into stuff fully. So I really enjoy that story. And the way she describes things, it's like I'm there. I've been that cold in the snow. I get it. So I love the way she describes things in such a way that I'm in the story. Okay. Maybe if you got good advice from a critical reader, explain how the person helped you, right? Did someone else in the class give you some advice or something? So you pick one of these and do your discussion on it, right? I think one of our other ones was 25, page 25. Let me look. Discussions. Let me see. 57 and 25. Yep. Okay. Analyze and write. Okay. Write a paragraph analyzing one of Dillard's action sequences. And she wrote American Childhood. Okay. Action sequences. These are your action verbs. These are your prepositional phrases, right? Help the readers visualize what it was like to move rapidly from place to place. A very good basic way of thinking of a prepositional phrase is anywhere a mouse can go, okay, for the most part. Through a gap in the hedge, across the grocery store's delivery driveway, under a low tree, up a bank, through a hedge, down some snowy steps, up a backward path, around the yellow house. You're following this rodent as it runs, right? But look at her word choices here. Across the grocery store's delivery driveway. Where do they deliver the goods in these places? Around the back? It's kind of abandoned and gross. Yeah, they're trying to lose this guy and go places he won't follow. Okay, so take a look, see where you can go. And here's parallel structures. Things they're almost identical in how they are rhymed, how they are grouped, how they are ended, how they are organized. He impelled us forward. We compelled him to follow our route. We kept running, block after block. We kept improvising, backyard after backyard. See how they kind of go as two halves of a whole? Kept running, block after block, kept improvising, backyard after backyard, right? So they kind of match. And sometimes when you read your papers and you realize something just feels off with this, I don't know, it could be parallel structure, okay? And if you're like, I don't even know what that looks like. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. You go back here to the e-textbook content and you look up the other book, the Hacker Handbook, okay? And you go to e-textbook, oh, there it is, Red Shelf Course Materials. And then the other book is your handbook on how to handle things like parallel structure. Because the St. Martin's Guide isn't going to help you with exactly like maybe the details of writing, but this one is. The Hacker Handbooks are pretty good. They're called that because they're written by a woman whose last name is Hacker. Okay. Did you notice the author of this book? The St. Martin's, whose last name is Axelrod. Make you think of Cars 2, perhaps. Anyway, so table of contents. Yeah, we looked at, I think parallel structure is in the first section. Let's see. I'm going to find it. Sentence style, I think it is. Parallelism. Yep. So if you're like, I don't understand what that, I just don't get what that means. Well, look it up. Here it is. Okay. So it walks you through it. Two or more ideas are parallel. They're easier to grasp when expressed in parallel grammatical form. Single words should be balanced with single words, phrases with phrases, clauses with clauses. Okay. Writers often use parallelism to create emphasis, and it gives you a link to see an example. Okay. So it's fairly easy to teach yourself this stuff. Okay. And it gives you a chance to experiment it. So yeah, it's pretty neat. And it gives you more examples. You can link yourself to death and just keep clicking and keep learning. So these are very readable texts. They're very easy to access. You click and read. So it's fairly simple. I think you can print part of your book. Yeah, you can print part of it. I think you have 100%. So I think you can print 20% of the content, because otherwise they want you to buy the book. But if you're like, I'm really having trouble, I want to print the MLA section, you can do that. Okay. So it is your textbook. Or if you're kind of tech savvy, screenshot, Control-Shift to print screen, take an image of your, take a picture of your screen, or use the snipping tool and drop it in a Word doc. And then you have a whole compiled file of images that are important to you. So yeah, that might help. Okay. So I'm going to fix the calendar, some of the due dates, discussions, and things are still due. So your syllabus quiz is due the 28th. You have 2 days. I'm going to extend this one just a smidge. Oh no, that one is done. The other one I'm going to extend. So you'll have time to do your discussions. Do not let them pass you. Do not be late on them. You cannot be late. They lock out. Okay. You've got to get them done. The sooner you can get them done, the better. But yeah, this class is, it is live on, as far as I know, it is live on both days. I am very happy to have a day where we're not sitting in front of each other on a Zoom, like I'm having to do right now and record this talking to myself. But that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to do virtual synchronous learning, which means at 9:35, we are all online and we are all doing the thing. Okay. So you need to make sure you're here each class period. For some reason, there was a problem recording some of the information from the first Zoom we did, and I don't have all of you down as having attended class. So I've got to have, I thought we could do it today, but no one's here. So that is a problem. So we need to make sure we are here so I can get the attendance, because otherwise you're going to end up being dropped from the class. because you'll be considered a no-show. And I know some of you were here. We had 20 people here, but I don't know which ones they were. I don't have everybody down, and I don't want to miss someone. So you need to let me know. I'll be sending out an email about that very soon. Okay. All right. Anyway, all right, I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to get this video posted. So that's how you do your paper. That's how it should look. That's how you set up your MLA. Your descriptive writing and your other 2 discussions are due by next week. Check your due dates. Next week, we'll be talking about the next paper in more MLA format and getting everything set up in that way. Okay. So, yeah, just make sure you're here. Make sure you're here at 9:35, and we will see you next week.